Let's make my lemon butter cookie layer cake from scratch. Simple and easy. Here's the recipe. In a separate bowl, we're going to sift together 3.5 cups of cake flour. Now, if you decide to use all-purpose flour for this, use 3.25 cups of all-purpose flour. But for cake flour, we want to do 3.5 cups. To that, we're going to put 1 teaspoon of salt, and then we need 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, as well as 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder also. And like I said, you want to sift these ingredients together, and then we're going to set them to the side. Now in my mixing bowl, I want to add 3 cups of granulated sugar. And to the 3 cups of sugar, we're going to add 1 stick of softened butter. And we also want to add 1 cup of vegetable oil. And then we're going to cream this together until light and fluffy. Once your butter and sugar is creamed together thoroughly and you've scraped the bowl, we want to get ready to start adding our eggs. We want to add 4 room temperature eggs, one at a time. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but also make sure your butter was at room temperature, softened at least. So I think I forgot to mention that. So 4 eggs, one at a time. Also make sure that you are scraping the bowl. I don't show it every single time, but yeah, I am scraping after each, not each addition, but after like I put 2 in, I scrape the bowl, and I put the other 2 in, I scrape the bowl again, as you see me doing here. So once we get our eggs well incorporated, the next thing I want to add is a little bit of vanilla extract. And I'm just going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And that's just to balance the lemon flavor that is to come. So we want to get that mixed in, and then we're going to start, right here I'm putting in just a little bit of food coloring. This is optional. I'm just putting in a little bit of yellow food coloring in, but you don't have to do that. That is optional. Next, after we get this well incorporated, we're going to start to alternate our flour with our buttermilk. And I have 1.5 cups of room temperature buttermilk that I'm going to alternate with most of the flour. But you got to watch, because it's another liquid ingredient coming up as well. So right here, I'm going to put in about half of the flour. And then once I get that to going, I'm going to start slowly drizzling in about half of the buttermilk. And mind you, I told you I had 1.5 cups of room temperature buttermilk. So once I scrape down my bowl, I'm going to add in some more flour, as you see me doing here, and then I'm going to add in all of the rest of the buttermilk. But keep in mind, I still have some flour reserved in that separate bowl, but I'm going to mix that with something else. So all of the rest of the buttermilk goes in, and now what we're going to do is I need 3/4 cups of water. And to that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of lemon extract. And then I want a 1/2 teaspoon of crystallized lemon. If you can't find the true lemon, you don't have to use it. You can just not use it at all and just use the lemon extract. Heat that water up till it's boiling in the microwave. Then add the rest of your flour like you just seen me do here. We're going to put this hot water, this hot lemon water, in with the rest of the batter. Slowly drizzle it in so it doesn't splash you, and get it thoroughly mixed. And then that's it. Once it's thoroughly mixed, we can begin to start dividing it up into our cake pans. And I'm just checking the bottom of the bowl, making sure everything is thoroughly mixed. Now for this, I wanted to grease and butter and flour my cake pans. I'm using 3 8-inch cake pans, or you can use 9-inch cake pans. It's up to you. I'm going to thoroughly butter the pans, and then I'm going to dust them lightly with flour. Also, make sure your oven is preheated at 325 degrees. Now to divide the cake batter up evenly, I'm using a 1 cup liquid measuring cup. All in all, I got about 3 cups of batter in each one. And then once I got 3 cups of batter in each pan, I was left with, I guess, less than a full cup of batter was left. And I just got it all out of the bowl the best I could and just divided that little bit up between the 3 pans. And now this baked in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes, and I'll explain that. These are our finished layers. They ended up baking I baked them at 325 degrees in a preheated oven. Now, they were on, instead of me baking them, I should have baked them all on the same rack, but I didn't. So these two were on the same rack, and they were on the rack that's one up from the middle. And so they ended up baking for 35 minutes. And then this one was directly under them on the next rack. And so at 35 minutes, this one wasn't done. So I had to move, once I pulled these out, I moved this upper rack, and it baked for another 5 minutes. So somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes at 325 degrees is what these layers needed. 8-inch cake layers. And you all seen how much batter was in the pan. And this is our lemon butter cookie layer cake, all finished. Be sure to watch part 2 to get the recipe for the lemon cream cheese icing that I made to frost this cake, and also the tutorial on how I decorated it will all be in part 2 of this video. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching The Chef and the Baker RVA, and happy baking.